Hello and welcome to the Bearded Hammer YouTube channel. Now, it's hard to be positive talking about West Ham as we suffered a 2-0 loss to our bitter rivals Tottenham Hotspur, leaving us languishing 18th in the Premier League with only 6 wins in the last 30 Premier League performances. What do we say? David Moyes out. A lot of people are getting fed up now. There are still a few who are languishing onto he'll save us. Part of that being the board, which is just farcical at this point, I believe. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through some of the things that Moyes has said after the game. What he's doing, what I don't like, what I think the majority of the fan base don't like, and where we should go from here. Number one, he should have been sacked before the World Cup, given a new manager that little bit of time to come in, bed in, and go from there. That manager should have been Sean Dyche, but that's long gone now. He's now at Everton, and he's already working wonders with them. We had a much better squad, much more appealing base, and he could have probably worked wonders with us. But let's look at this season. 5 wins in the Premier League, 23 games in. It's not good. We're in relegation form at the minute. All right, people were saying, well, we drew against Newcastle, we drew against Chelsea, so that's really good. No, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not. We've won more games in the Conference League this year. We've won 8 in 8 than we have in the Premier League. So that's saying something about the quality of the Europa Conference League, where the teams sitting in relegation form are the best form team in that competition. We've got 19 goals in 23 games this season, which is a joint 4th worst record in the top flight. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. We see Moyes come out with a very defensive setup. Yesterday, 5 defenders, 3 defensive midfielders. Some would say 3 goalkeepers if you count Kerr and Souček, but let bygones be bygones. They're saving more than the keeper is. But the bit that's got me is David Moyes. He did a press conference with some newspaper the other week, and essentially he said, well, you can't expect us to be at the top all the time. But if that's your thinking, you shouldn't be a football manager. You should be trying to win every game, because if you're not winning, you're losing. But the bit that's got me is after the game against Spurs. And this is a quote. I think we've not been good at... I think we've not been scoring enough goals. So what that has meant is that we need to try and make sure we don't concede any goals. We went to Newcastle and went a goal down. We nicked a goal from a set piece. We played Chelsea, went a goal down, got one back because we were in the main relatively strong defensively. It gave us a chance to get something from the game. Today, the first question when I came in is for a long period in the first half. We played really well, both in defence, and actually, our play was good. But we didn't focus enough right at the start of the second half. Tottenham got a little bit of encouragement. I felt from how we started, ultimately, it came down to a couple of really poor actions defensively. But in saying that, it would have been good if we could have created more chances and created more opportunities than we did today, because it's something going forward. We were going to have to find a way to get more chances. So what he's saying there is he wants to be better defensively. Okay, I can understand that. But he wants to create more chances. Clearly not, David. You're starting the most defensive side in the Premier League. It's one of those that we've got an abundance of attacking prowess, and Tottenham start really slowing games this season. So what have we done? We've gone defensive. And yes, we were on top for a little bit of that game, and we did look dangerous for the opening 20 minutes, I'd say. But we didn't produce anything. Had you had Benrahma 4 hours on, I know Paquette is injured, but you put on Danny Ings or Skamaka as well, you're probably going to nick a goal there. And then you can sit back and try and defend it. I'd go with that. We need to grind out points. But playing defensively and then changing it to try and come back into the game, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So let's look at this. In the last 38 Premier League games, we've won 10, which is not great. Most seasons that puts us in the last 5 seasons puts us in 17th, which is not staving off relegation, but that's not promising, is it? But the last 6 that we've won. Let's look at those games in particular. So Norwich, which was last year, they got relegated. We beat them. Fantastic. Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa, he was sacked shortly after. So a team in really poor form. Bournemouth, part of the relegation battle. Yep, but they're also winning now as well. They're above us, but a key victory there. Fulham, who actually, I think, surprising a lot of people, up in the lofty heights of 6 at the minute. Bruno Lage's Wolves, who was then ultimately sacked in the relegation battle. Frank Lampard's Everton, who was sacked shortly after in the relegation battle. So out of all of those 6, one of them was a decent side. So if we're languishing in trying to beat the teams in and around us in the relegation battle, that's saying something, isn't it? I know on paper sometimes we look at games and go, we should win that, and we don't. But oh my God, the fact that we're even going, well, actually, when's the next time? When we're playing Leeds and Southampton, because actually we might get a win there. But they're both pivoting. Leeds have sacked Jesse Marsh recently to try and get someone else in more positive. Southampton brought in Nathan Jones, who they've sacked to try and get something more positive. It's Everton, again, sacked their manager to try and get something more positive. Same as Wolves. All those teams going around us. Bournemouth are the only one who's stuck with Gary O'Neill. But they won their last game. They're in better form than us in the last 4 games. And I can't get my head around it. Now, the other thing to be added into this equation is some people blame the board. And yes, ultimately they hold the keys to the city. They hold the decision to be made. But you can't say for once they haven't backed the manager. And Danny Ings might have been a board signing, possibly. They like a striker. But this year alone, we've spent £172 million. Now, that's not taking into account money we've brought in. That's just players we've spent out on. It's more in euros, but it equates to about £172 million, which is the 3rd highest in the Premier League this season. Considering Chelsea have spent 600 million, which is an abnormal amount, we probably would have been second had they not got new owners. And if you're spending that much money, you have to see results. Sitting in 18th in the Premier League isn't a good return, is it? Theoretically, we should be fighting to be the best of the rest. We have this big 6, don't we? So Arsenal, City, United, Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea. That's the traditional. Chelsea and Liverpool are languishing a bit. Newcastle are pushing up this year. Fulham are playing really well. Brighton are playing really well. So we should be in that group with Fulham and Brighton, trying to be the best of the rest. Do you know what I mean? And that's the frustrating thing for me, is we're not. We're a big team. We've got the most season ticket holders in the Premier League and the biggest waiting list. We're going to be in the Championship next year if we carry on as it is. The board haven't sacked him yet, which is strange. We've beaten Derby and Brentford in the Cup. Fantastic. What does that mean? Do you know what I mean? It means nothing. You can get to the quarter-final of the Cup, that's fine. And then what? Relegation as well? I don't get it. We're not going through the Cup. We're playing Manchester United. They're going to beat us in their current form. They're going to beat us. But it's really hard to convey the anger and the distaste for the club at the minute. And the biggest thing is for me is I was a big proponent of David Moyes at one point. I backed him. He was pragmatic. He was good. He made the team work hard. It's all fallen apart. He's obviously upset a few people, which is why the backroom staff has changed. He hasn't got a clue. He's got the 3rd most wins in the Premier. 3rd most games played in the Premier League after Arsene Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson. But he's also lost more games than he's won, which says it all. But sack him. That's my thing. And who should take over? Well, there's two that spring to mind immediately. One of those who would be my preferred option at this point is Michael Carrick. He's doing wonders at Middlesbrough. They're doing well, playing a high press, high tempo game. I think he's won something like 13 in 17 with them. Former West Ham Youth Academy player. Bring him back. Let him have a crack at it. At worst case scenario, we're gonna get some entertaining football at the end before the end of the season, and if we do go down, it's something positive to build on coming back up. And that's what I would say. The other one, Wayne Rooney. Now, some people might say it's a bit of a strange one, but he did really well at Derby in very difficult circumstances. You would say he worked well with young players. We're known as the Academy of Football. We need to start utilising some of these good youth players that we've got. They're probably my two preferred options. Well, I say preferred options. They're the two more realistic options that I would think would be good to bring in. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Sean Dyche would have been my number one. Had he not gone to Everton, getting him out of that situation, I think is going to be hard. I think he would have been a much better manager coming to us. Same pragmatism as you would say Moyes had earlier in his tenure, but also has worked on a shoestring budget, worked miracles for Burnley. Very good with the players, with the media, and just could produce positive things given the abundance of talent that we have. Now, another one which is a little bit of a sideways, Andre Villas-Boas, former Chelsea manager, Tottenham. He's currently out of work at the minute, but he averages 1.98 points per match, which is not terrible. It's not phenomenal, but it's not bad. It's actually more than Thomas Tuchel over his career. So in that sense, maybe that would be one. You're going to get some good passing play. All right, it might be a bit sideways, a bit boring, but the players that we have are used to that heavy possession, skill taking on players, fancy passes. It might fit the bill. So that's the third option. Now, if you look out there and go, right, let's get the big boys in. Some people say Poch. I'm not interested in Poch. He's a bottle job. He's the only person I think that's been the manager of the PSG and not won the league. So why would you want him in? Thomas Tuchel, former Chelsea manager, knows the Premier League. He's out of a job. Why would you not try and coax him in? I know he probably won't want to join a relegation battle team, but when you look at our squad, we're not a relegation battle team. The only thing that would take is a lot of investment in the training ground, because it does look like it's from the 1980s. And Zinedine Zidane. If we're going big, why not go big? 2.1 points per match. Former Real Madrid manager, has won a lot pretty much. Never managed in the Premier League, but with some of the quality players we have, would probably produce something good. And now the real outsiders. You thought those ones were bad. Sam Allardyce. Need to say more? He doesn't play players out of position. He is defensively sound. He'd probably stave us off from relegation. I wouldn't want him any more than that. Save us this season and let's get someone else in. But Big Sam, man with the biggest head in football management. Can't go far wrong for me. Sean Dyche, again, is the outside. I've already said that. We're not going to get him out of Everton now. And one that, if you look at the project of us getting relegated this season, to help us come back, when you look at the longevity of what he's tried to do at Brighton and added to that, it's Graham Potter. He's at Chelsea, he's struggling in a minute. They're playing good football. You can't deny that. They have some unbelievable players. They've got a lot of new players. They're going to gel at some point and it's going to click, and all of a sudden they're going to be unbeatable. We haven't quite got that at West Ham. We've brought in new players, we've got good players, but actually it would fit the bill very, very well. I think we're bringing through some of the younger players, some of the unknowns, working with a good scout network. It could be a free transfer in a couple of weeks. So, I mean, what harm could it do? I think as a project going forward to build for a couple of years, it might be all right. But that being said, let me know who you think the next manager of West Ham United should be in the comment section below. And make sure you're subscribed to the Bearded Hammer YouTube channel. Till then, take care.